Welcome
Hello.
to Identity After the Uniform Project, where we explore the real stories behind military transition, the challenges, the growth, and the new purpose beyond the military. So today I'm very fortunate to be joined by Dean and Martin. Hiya, Dean. Hiya, Martin. How are you both doing?
We're good, thank you.
Oh, right. I'm just going to ask you one quick question, if that's okay, just to kick this off. So starting with yourself, Martin, can you tell me your connection with the military?
Well, I was in the army as a junior leader. To start off with in 1980, and then I went into another regiment, and then I was in the Army Medical Corps, and then I worked for the RAF as well at Triple T Cottesmore with the Tornadoes, the Tri-National Tornado Establishment, which was Italians, Germans, and English. And then the Saudis turned up to learn how to fly planes, and they were like, you know, crazy. So the scarf behind them and put it on full reheat on the railway, on the runway. Yeah.
And what about yourself?
Well, you aren't finished. You carry on.
Oh, thanks. Right. I was in the Royal Engineers for a relatively short time, the scale of it. So I did about 4.5, 5 years. Got medically discharged out due to a first and last rugby game I ever played. Couldn't tell you how it ended. All I know is I was laid in the back of a Land Rover. But yeah, that was interesting. And then ever since then, I've been sort of supporting and working with military people in varied connotations, really.
Yeah, I've done that as well.
How did you two meet then?
Just like that. What? So you was at Bassingbourne. I was the NCO Med Centre.
Yeah, but we didn't know each other, though, did we?
Oh no, we didn't. Apparently didn't.
We both served the same time at Bassingbourne, but we didn't know each other. He was a miserable old sod in the Med Centre, but I didn't know that at the time. But later on when we met is I got a job down in Brighton because I used to live in Lincoln, and I run a sort of did all the training and run sort of like the technical side
agency.
Yeah, and Martin somehow got involved with the director down there, Jason. He came down. I met him then, and that was probably about 15 years ago. 15 or 16.
Yeah,
something like that. And yeah, I've regretted it ever since. And yeah, so literally I've had probably 1, 2, 4 jobs since then, and pretty much kept him involved in some way, shape or form with each one of them each time. So I was at the company in Brighton, which I won't name because it's gone anyway. Then I went to work at BAE Systems and we had some involvement then.
Yeah.
And then from BAE Systems,
EA, Environmental Agency.
No, that was not that. No, yeah, that was a Kiel. Yeah, and then from BAE we set up Optimus Training, and then got him back involved with that. And then we've since left Optimus Training together, and now we are partners in Squaddie Box and Squaddie Box. Yeah,
which is how I met you both as well, wasn't it? Through the work that you currently do, which is absolutely amazing. Yeah. I just want to really have an understanding what it was like for both of you when you were transitioning out of the military, when you handed over your uniform and it was time to say goodbye and welcome to Civvy Street.
I'll pause for a second so I don't swear on the air. Yeah, no, I went to the General Infirmary, a hospital just down the road from us, and I was gonna do medical skills for them. And on the day that I actually finally left, the hospital turned around and said I wasn't qualified. So and all the doctors, there were 4 doctors on the board, they all looked at HR with amazement and go, so we're not qualified then? Yes, you are, she says, because he was insured by the army. So why can't we insure him? Because like he hasn't done our training. I said, well, how can we be qualified if he hasn't done our training? And then she went on, moaned and whinged about it. And at the end of the day, they wanted me to do a year in their training program with the bloke that I taught. That's funny, wasn't it? Yeah, twat. I taught, and I couldn't afford it, because going from a military wage to a pathetic 10 grand a year, you know, traveling to and from Leicester and every day, it just wasn't, I wasn't viable. So I ended up in bloody security, but I wanted to be an ODP as well as medical skills. And that's when I realized the military just stuck two fingers up to you. And it was the year after that, 98, 99, that the military started doing qualifications for soldiers, sailors and airmen. Don't forget the Navy, because they row the boats.
Senior service, yeah. Are you done?
Yeah,
my turn now. Is it
your turn?
Is it my turn? Yeah. So
just like that.
Thanks. I came out 2000. CT, Career Transition Partnership thing, was really newish still then. There was a lot of organisations that were really taking the mick out of the actual CTP side of charging a fortune and then actually giving you false courses. I know it's been clamped down now in the last few years, but it was horrendous back then. I had a reasonable idea of what I wanted to do, so I wanted to go and work for the police, because I'd done some work with them when I was based over at Maidstone 36, and I found out about a specialist unit called, which was the technical support unit. So I came out, I started retraining off my own back really into multiple different things. I managed to get some money out of the military because I was MD'd out. So I did security courses, as in technical security, not physical. And then after doing several technical courses, a couple of vehicle mechanics courses, I also did vehicle electrics and electronics as well. And then a position came up with Lincolnshire Police in the technical support unit. Not for the job I was after. It was actually in the video editing side of things. So I applied for that, got offered the job. When I turned up on the day to do the job, they turned around to me and said the job had been withdrawn. And actually the original job that I've been after had actually then come vacant because an internal guy had decided he wanted to do the TSU work, not the video editing. So look, in my side was that he tried it for a while, didn't like it, went back to doing video editing, and I got the TSU job I was after, which was great. So I then did that for the best part of 10 years, which took me up to about 2009. And I enjoyed doing the job. I look back now and realise I naively believed the police force would be very similar from a uniform perspective. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of nice people I got along with, but it was more of a backstabbing organisation, not through any fault of the individuals, more through the structure and the organisation and the way it turned people. Because as any sort of uniformed organisation, they started to sort of get rid of any sort of social interaction with people.
They turn in on each other.
Yeah, so we saw it in the forces when we got out. They started closing all the bars and stopping drinking and everything else. And they did the same with that in the police as well. So, you know, when I first joined, there was loads of bars and used to socialise with people after work and all that sort of stuff. And as it went on, that stopped, which means people became more socially isolated. So you didn't know who you were working with. And that, I suppose that's been a major play in a lot of people's work life, really, and especially on the transition side of things as well. And I've seen it more and more. I know I'm digressing, but more and more now where people are so reliant on social media that there's very little interaction anymore. And we try and encourage more interaction. So that was me, really.
Well, you'd see a lot, wouldn't you? You meet a lot of people, a lot of ex-forces in your new community interest company that you have within Squaddie Box. What's the general feeling that you get from the people you work on a day-to-day basis with regards to them leaving the military?
I found they have been a lot more isolated than they used to be. And when I've been to a lot of military events, there's a lot less social interactions of the lower ranks within the military, where it used to be encouraged to go out. And, you know, we used to have silly things like on a Thursday night, you had the compulsory squadron down the pub type thing. And it was never about going and getting drunk out your face. It was more about actual social interaction with the other guys on your squadron. And that's what it was, you know, that was one of the things it was always about. So you worked hard, play hard, but I found not that exists now. Everybody, you know, it's nearly 9 to 5 now, where they go there, do the job, go back to their either to their pits, block, home, whatever. And I was speaking to people and they say they hardly know anybody on the squadrons anymore or on the units or whatever else. It's just so, unless they're away on a tour when they get actually opportunity to engage with people, and it's like meeting them for a new, for the first time sort of thing. The social interactions are becoming quite rare now.
Yeah, we used to have all sorts. I mean, we used to go at the back of the unit because the officers couldn't invite us to the officers' mess, and we couldn't invite them all to the sergeant's mess or the general mess. So we all went round the back of the unit, and we'd sit there for hours drinking, all of us, captains, colonels, majors, lieutenants, soldiers, troopers, whatever it was. You're just having a laugh and having a chat. People don't really understand that it's when you're at unit level, and if you work closely together, it's totally different from what you see on the films or anywhere else where you seem to have this rank structure. But apparently the guys and girls are telling me now that there's a total division. Everybody's divided off. And then you've got boys and girls divided off. You've got officers divided off. You've got sergeants and corporals divided off, and privates divided off, and even into groups in them.
Well, you've even got the lads and lasses staying in the block, and you've got the pads as well, haven't you, going home at night. So, if you live in accommodation, you're just going home at 5 o'clock at night on most days, and it's a 9 to 5 job. So it was, my first unit was up in Ripon, and I was married, but if a squadron arranged a drinks evening, we were expected to turn up. Nowadays, it's more of an option. Before it was a compulsory thing. You thought it was wrong at the time, but when you look back, you realise what it actually meant, because they needed that bond between the units of the people. So then, if anything went wrong, you knew people had your back and you knew them. Where now you're like, you're fighting with strangers. So, but yeah.
What made you both decide to set up Squaddie Box then? What was the driving force behind it and why?
So I bullied him, as I do everybody, and that's part of my ADHD really. So but the reason.
Paul Martin, let's do this. It's really exciting.
It is.
You'll love it. By the way, you're doing this. Am I? All right then.
It came about because I was quite ill. 24. Yeah, 24 wasn't it? 24, 25.
Yeah.
And going through previous employment, which wasn't great. They messed me about, and they messed him about as well eventually, between both of us. And I was helping out a guy who was trying to get PIP. And I went through all the different reasons of trying to get him the mail sent to somewhere for him, because he was homeless. And it just transposed that there was no way of doing it. The job centre said you could do it, and we tried that. But the problem they didn't get is, you've got a veteran who's gone through a load of trauma. They're not going to go to the job centre and face a security guard on the door who's got no idea who he is. He's going to give the same scripted spiel he gives to everybody. You're not coming unless you've got an appointment, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. They're just going to cut off and go, and they're not even, or it's going to kick off. And it just, it ends up causing more trauma, which he'd gone through. So he lost about 7 months worth of money, which was a lot of money. So, it works out probably, 5 or 6 grand he'd lost because of PIP, give or take. So it was like, I got to find a better way of doing this. So I did loads and loads of research, as I do, and eventually found out there's no real proper way of doing it. There are variations of doing it, but they're all forward in address scenarios. And if you haven't got an address in the first place, where do you forward it to? So I then sat down with Martin, my wife, a friend of ours, Nick, who's another ex-engineer, and Jodie, our friend of ours, and sort of bullied them all into saying, look, Squaddie, what do you think to this? We took us ages to come up with a name. It took him even longer to come up with a logo. And eventually my missus turned around and said, that's it, we're going with that logo. It's enough. We came up with that. And then we started sort of reaching out. That was it really. And the more we look into it, the more and more people say to us, we're social entrepreneurs. What we're doing is actually massive when you sit down and look at what we're actually trying to achieve. And the key thing for us is we're not trying to give people a house. There's not enough housing stock out there to do that. We understand that. And there are a lot of really good charities out there, veterans charities, who are very, very slowly creating housing stock for veterans, but it's just such a slow speed.
We're giving people a chance.
Yeah, we're a self-enabler. So we give them people an address where they can have mail sent to, driving licenses sent to, benefits sent to, and they can start saving their own money if they choose to. They can live wherever they want to live, because not every veteran actually wants to move into a house. Some of them we come across are happy living in their camper vans. There was one guy, our first guy, I won't say his name, but he lives in the back of a Renault Traffic. Another guy lived in a static caravan. I've got a guy over in Portsmouth. Once we set up over there, he lives in a camper. He can't get a house because he's got a dog. Nobody will let him have a house. So there's always type of scenarios. So we can he's struggling to get any benefits. It's all sent to his sister's house, which is miles away from where he is. So having that fixed address at a location. So, for example, our fixed address at our location. So our first one was
self-empowerment.
It's outside of GP surgery. So it'll be, for argument's sake, Dave Smith, Squaddie Box 1, the GP surgery. And that one's got 6 letterboxes there in a pod. We call them Squaddie pods. So that basically supports 6 veterans. So, and blue light services as well, note. So we are aware of firemen who are living in camper vans. They were living on the back of a fire station. They've since been moved on for very reasons. They're now living local, but they're still in the camper van. So, yeah.
Seriously, that's absolutely amazing what you guys are doing. What made you want to support the military, though, especially the way you were treated when you left, the fact that you didn't have that kind of support? So why did you want to support the military?
Because the MOD are the bellends, right? The rest of us that are in are the good people. We're the ones that do all the dirty work. We're the ones that pick up all things. It's like the MOD. They're having a dig. For the last 10 years, I've been in with a group of SF guys. We're all in one pod together. And the MOD have been fighting us for 10 years. Finally, there is something coming up where the MOD are still dragging their feet. So it's the MOD, not the guys and girls in the system.
And I suppose it's like yourself. It's veterans helping veterans, isn't it? We've all gone through that lived experience. We know what it's like. We know it could be better. So we realise very quickly that the only real people who are actually going to do it are ourselves. So we all do what
as we've always done.
Yeah, we look after ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, Rupert comes out and says, "See that hill over there? Oh, boys, just take it from me, will you? I'll be at dinner."
Yeah, not quite.
The biggest thing that's coming across as well is that a lot of organisations, they're all operating in their own lanes, and nobody's actually really focusing on the military unit as a whole. And what I mean by that is our spouses, our partners, our children, even our parents to a certain extent, and looking how when we leave, it impacts all of us. And I think that's the key thing about these real conversations. It's getting a real understanding of what it is once you're out of that uniform, because we want to help people understand, yes, there's certain challenges, but we do move on from it. Yeah. And give them that kind of insight into what we did.
Well, I think a good point there is you raised there, which is a very good point, and I've started to hear that more and more, is that you never join the military as an individual. You join, you and your family join it, especially if you're married and stuff like that, and your kids and everything else, and there'll be thousands of people out there who are pad brats who have never been in the military but feel like they know it inside out. There'll be parents who, have got kids who've been in it and probably lost kids who've gone through it. And again, they probably got loads of support from that side of things. There is starting very, very slowly to start, varied courses I'm aware of where they are now starting to support the greater family. I will put a shout out to RBVE, who have been brilliant. Both my wife and my son and Martin have been on an RBVE course, and the guy who runs it, Gary, is bloody brilliant.
Wodger,
yeah, and Wodger and Gary, they're brilliant. Ex-forces again, though, and they're starting to get it. It's the bigger picture. It's got to be that holistic approach to supporting the veterans and the families, isn't it?
I'll tell you what, my sister, she was WRAC, and she still works for the MOD now. She told me about a month after my mum died that my mum, every time I went away on a job, she wouldn't sleep, and she was scared to death that I would get killed. And I like Lorraine says to her, well, what about the rest of us? And she goes, you're not likely to do something crazy like Martin is. So yeah, so it does impact the whole family. I know I was going to get deployed in Iraq on the early stage, and I've only just found this out, but my sister got the DSATCO to drop in a Queen's order to prevent me from leaving the UK. So I had to stay with the Air Force as a seconded soldier. So I did a liaison with the Air Force and another unit that was out hunting scuds. So we basically, they thought that the communications were corrupt and that the Iraqis had access to our communication system. So they used me as an intermediary because they knew me and the other guys and girls knew me as well. So I could feed through correct information to the pilots when they were laying in limited patrols, laser transmitted devices. The bomb follows a laser into the window. Yeah. So
that digressed, didn't it?
No, I like a digress.
Yeah.
But how was your mental health then, Martin, with everything that you've seen and everything you've done when you took that uniform? How did you mentally handle leaving?
What? I heard that, pardon.
How was you mentally?
He'll tell you. I've been off my trolley for years. I don't have a filter, unfortunately.
That's fine by me.
No.
It might be all
That's
right.
why we get on. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be all right for you, but everybody else gets a bit of a panic on because they don't like to hear the truth.
Yeah, but the thing is, by the sounds of what you've just described in that short couple of minutes, is your military career, you've seen a lot and you've done a lot. And I appreciate from speaking to you in the past, there's not much you can actually discuss basically on a podcast like this. But what I was hoping was maybe you can tell people how you felt once you took your uniform off and you were just Martin.
Abandoned. You become nothing. Civvies, you can't tell civvies nothing because they just don't understand. And even if you could tell them, they, you know, there's one half, you go, oh, here we go again type thing. Another half that want to fight you because I got to the top of my trade in the military. And if they knew what I did for a living, they want to try and prove that they're stronger than you are. There's that half. Then there's another lot that want to treat you like with kid gloves, and you're going like, I just what?
How many halves are
Yeah.
there?
All right, quarters then.
Quarters then.
Yeah, thirds. It depends. I mean, it depends who you're talking to. I mean, certainly in the security industry, it's like the scenario would be if you're doing a door supervisor job and you've got a bodyguard badge on, everyone puffs the chest up thinking they're hard. And it's not until you actually hurt them that they realise that you know what you're doing. And it's and you're just going like, why would you do it? Right? I'm asking you, not politely, please don't shout outside the venue or whatever you're asking them. And then they put the chest up and start going, ooh, freak you out. Yeah. We don't have that in the military. Well, we do, but we're not. But you can deal with it quickly.
Don't add to this.
What?
Add to this.
Am I finished?
No, I probably you've never finished. I'll say that knowing Martin as long as I've known him, Martin's got a heart of gold, and he has been massively taken advantage of on multiple occasions. and we've been through some similar things together. And the problem is, you know, even up to recently, he's had people take advantage of him, and you know, we've sort of had conversations. Enough's enough now. It's it. You know, we're doing what we do for Squaddie Box and Squaddie Box, which is another venture we're doing, to make the difference. But
that's a point. It's a point, really.
And also, in a longer term, we need to look after us in a, you know, a sensible way. We're not taking a mick or anything, because we want it to keep going. You know, we want to roll it out across the UK. We've had conversations potentially looking at actually rolling it out in America and potentially Australia. We're going baby steps first. We want to get it established well in the UK first with multiple councils. You know, we've had I just had a conversation today with one of the very senior gentlemen who's a senior doctor in the what was it, the GP
surgery, GP
Institute. Yeah, he's a senior in the GP Institute, or what we call it, the General Practitioners Institute, or what we call it. He's ex RAMC officer. He helped. I believe what he was saying. He helped set up a lot of the medical stuff for veterans within the NHS. He was one of the early crusaders around that. But I had a conversation with him today. He thinks it's absolutely brilliant what we're doing. Sees understands it, the simplicity of it. The fact, you know, it's just so easy, really. Why has no one ever done it? But it's that I explained that, and we you know, we want to roll it forward. So you know, it's the message for me for everybody is there. You know, if you know any organisation, if you've got any contacts or anything in the councils and people like that, just give us a shout, because we need to. We've just had elections, and now getting back into councils again is proving really difficult because nobody seems to want to engage at the moment. So, yeah.
What happens though once you get them address and they're claiming their benefits? So, as in a postal address, who supports them then? Where do they go?
Signpost them.
Yeah,
depends on what they need and what they want. We can do some of the training, provide some of the training, some of the access. But we can signpost them and what importantly, we can signpost them to other charities who couldn't take them on before because they haven't got address.
And that's also the key thing I wanted to understand, because if you're putting in this groundwork and you're doing that bit before to help people, and which hats off, amazing, what happens then? And I think there's a lot of organizations out there, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a charity and I'm not a community interest company or anything, I'm just me. And what I find is everyone seems to signpost from one to another to another to another. So how are you establishing the right collaborations, the right partners to send to?
Key for us is
identifying what they need.
Right. So we primarily want to work with councils. So they're usually the first port of call for anybody who's homeless. So we so veteran side of things, we can vet them. We've got the ability to do that now through an organisation, and then so that's obviously working out who they are first. Once we've got them with a stable address, then what we are very slowly doing is building up a really good network of other organisations who we are sort of vetting ourselves to see, look at the, let's say, Trustpilot responses, so to speak, the veteran pilot type responses, to see how well they've fared, and then we will then direct those individuals to those organisations. They can't always be right for everybody all of the time. You know, it is that look of the draw, so to speak. You might not always get the right person, but at least then what we're trying to do is we're trying to support every other veteran charity out there by giving these individuals that address, which means they can then contact them, which means they can then carry on doing what they're doing a lot quicker, a lot more efficient, and better results. Because if they spend half their time just trying to find the individual, they're going to give up, and vice versa. So you can have a homeless person saying, well, no one gets hold of me. That's because they can't find you. And the charity saying, well, I can't get hold of him. I don't know where he lives. So we're building that bridge, pardon the pun, being ex-Royal Engineers. We're building that bridge, and you know, to self-enable, give the individuals so they can be self-enabling, but also for the other charities, CICs, government agencies, and that lot, to be able to not have any excuse at all to not being able to contact them.
So you really are the bit before. You're the key to it, aren't you? For those that haven't got an address, just out of some of the conversations you've had in the past, with not going into personal details, what's been the main reason that they're living in cars and they're living in camper vans, or they're homeless? What is it? Immediate after leaving the forces? Is it a few years? What are you finding?
It's multiple. So it could be you've left base and you've gone to your home area, and all of a sudden you find there's nobody there for you. Your mates have grown up. The whole place has changed. You're trying to find somewhere. You have got a car, so you're living in the car. You then, or you sort of like, with a little bit of money, you buy something you can live in, because you think, until I can afford a house, and then you're looking for a job. So there's that. There's arguments with the wife or the husband.
Yeah, we've had divorce.
And you get moved out.
Yeah.
And then you start sofa surfing.
And also you've got the compulsory drug testing, so they're straight out as well. So you've got that. You've also got offenders as well, so veterans who have gone through the prison service and then come out of there. I was having a conversation. I was on a meeting yesterday with the council, and they were saying, "Oh, you're supposed to get 52 days of accommodation when you come out of the prison." And she was saying not any single one of the individuals she's dealt with that have come out of prison have been given accommodation. So they're instantly homeless the second they come out. You know, and there's a government policy that says they should do, but no one's providing it because it just isn't the accommodation. So I'm not saying we give them accommodation, but at least we can give them an address again. That means that people can get hold of them to start speeding that process up somehow, or they do it themselves.
So the organisation's referring into you, because obviously if you're homeless 9 out of 10 times, you're not going to have a phone and no access to the internet. So how are they going to find you? So, or even know about you?
That has been the biggest challenge. So I'm networking like mad all over social media, linked key sites like LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm trying to attend as many events as I can. We are emailing every single council we can. We are contacting multiple organisations through the NHS,
and we've developed VISP.
And we've developed a new course which we'll talk about in a second. I'm attending all of the armed forces network meetings, at least in the south of the UK. I'm reaching out to lots of my old friends who are ex-forces who live around the UK and saying, look, this is what we're doing. But all that networking, is really hard work. That takes up a massive amount of time we're doing, and it takes us, and we've got virtually no money at all. We had a minimal grant from the lottery. A lot of it's been self-funding. So, we're getting some projects through that are the money goes direct to the project again, so it doesn't support the bigger picture, but it helps us as well. And as Martin just said, VISP, which is our a project that came through Sussex Police Crime Commissioner, brilliant it was. Basically, I was speaking to Sussex Police, a lady from there. She said, have we got any way of identifying veterans when they come into custody? And I spoke to some people from Opnova who deal with veterans in custody, and identified very quickly, if a veteran doesn't identify themselves when they go into veteran or refuse to, they don't get the proper services they're entitled to when they go for custody. So we created this, which is Veteran Identification Support Program, which is a level 2 endorsed course. Martin did massive amount of work on it. We've now got that accredited through Highfields, and that can train any individual, any front-facing individual in any organisation to look for identifying markers, conversations, talks about trauma, talks about lived experience, talks about all these different things that you go through. So when you're in that position and an individual comes up, you've got a greater understanding of what you're looking for, and you could identify them as a veteran quicker, which means they are then into the services quicker, and in some cases could be taken out of custody or prevent arguments at DWP.
Help reduce conflict between the custody officers and the vet. because they are understanding how to get the conversation going, how to interact with them, and not do things that are likely to make them spark.
Yeah, actually have a conversation, not an argument. Yeah. So, go on.
Do you know what's interesting? I'm sorry to jump in. I was at a conference this morning, part of the new Valor, and a lot of agencies were all in there. And the biggest thing that came from the conversations was that they can only work with 1% of those of the armed forces that leave, because the rest of them do not want to speak out. Some of them don't want to be associated as being a veteran. So the people that they need the help, they can't get to.
Yeah. Yeah. So this sort of helps that. At the end of the day, if you work out they are a veteran and they choose not to use the service at that point, part of our training is to actually sort of gently coax them around to actually understanding that we are there to help them. But if they still decide they do not want assistance at that point, you've done as much as you can. We can't force them, can't force anybody, but at least we've had a go at it, as opposed to going, well, I wasn't sure and I let it go anyway. At least our way of doing it is you've got a greater chance of saying, maybe having a conversation along there. Do you want a brew, or do you want a wet, or stand by your beds, or any of the old key conversations that we always used to hear. If they draw a response, you've got some understanding of them knowing that, haven't you? Then you can and if you're really lucky, you may have a custody officer who's a veteran themselves, so then they can then sort of get into a bit of banter and draw that out. But at least this gives them a bit more of an advantage over not knowing at all.
I'm going to go back slightly to something you said about 10 minutes ago, where it was regarding when we're signposting, when you guys are signposting, and a lot of it that you're seeing is that a lot of these organizations are led and ran by military personnel. So that common ground is there. And I'm wondering if that's something significant for our viewers that are listening. And what I mean by that is they don't want to speak out because they don't want to be identified as a veteran, or they're still angry and they're still hurting. But actually, you've got people that are on these interviews, this project, that are saying, look, I was angry and I was frustrated, but I'm still showing up. And I'm actually helping other veterans. That's what I'm taking away from what you two have been saying to me for the last 10, 15 minutes. And please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I agree. I think where we fall down massively is we are, as a nation, we're very bad at actually being proud and supporting our own armed forces. And without getting political, the government doesn't do any favors, does it? So why would you be proud of doing what you've done when your own country doesn't really sort of get behind you? So a lot of people won't say anything
when Zippy wants to have you arrested for bloody doing your job.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Dharma, by the way, Zippy.
Yeah. So politically, yeah. So that's I can understand that, can't you? If you don't feel supported by the nation, you're less likely to say something. And I was saying when I worked in the police, a lot of people wouldn't say they would work for the police because again they were concerned that people wouldn't support the police. And again it's the army's more than a job, and anybody who's been in there knows that it's not
a family.
It's a family. It's a lifestyle. It's a culture. And in some ways, the police are the same, or used to be. I don't know what it's like now. But, those type of organisations, you can get a lot of people on the peripheral saying, oh, you should do this, you should do that. But if you've never done it, you don't understand. You can't say how somebody feels or how somebody reacts if you've never done it yourself.
Well, I mean, it's like I was having a moment some time ago, and Mick drove all the way from bloody Hereford. Come over, we had tea, and I cooked him some dinner.
And cake.
Yeah, he did get cake, actually. Greedy bastard. And he drove back. I said, no, you can stay. He said, no, it's all right, Brownie. Oh, and I've recently done the same for him. I mean, luckily enough, I didn't have to go to Northern Ireland to go and see him. But I went across to the airport where he was in transit because he'd got a transit trip to go back out to do a job in Ireland. And I met him before he left the UK, and that was another. You know, you can't get that anywhere else. And Dean does it all the time. He annoys me every day. If I haven't called in, it's like, what are you doing? Where you been? Right. In the house.
We pretty much speak to each other most days, and we try to leave each other alone.
We're not a couple or anything.
No, but no. Yeah,
you've got a wife.
Yeah,
and all the
who's
rest
in the
of
other
it.
room. Yeah. It was your second wife, I think. Isn't she?
Yeah, my second wife.
Yeah.
So
So
you won't let me share her.
no, taking his head off. But yeah, so it's
Very cuddly.
you don't get that in. I think because of the stuff we did in the military, the way it was done, how it was done, what we were doing in sort of really high stressful situations, it creates that bond. And again, I don't know what it's like now with the since I've come out a long time ago, 26 years I've been out now. I've seen lots of people who have said it's nowhere near that anymore. Obviously we've had a phase we've gone through.
We would all get arrested if we were sitting now.
Yeah.
I've heard.
A month ago, I spoke to Craig. He was the captain of the because I did an exchange trip with the Special Operations Squadron from Mildenhall, flying C-130 Talon 2s, the electronic warfare aircraft, but our lot jump out the back of them occasionally. And it was great. And Craig rang me up from the States. So it crosses water.
Yeah.
Not just down the road, like here. Only, where is he? Oh, he's in the middle of Arizona. That's right. So he lives in the middle of Arizona by choice, which I thought was a bit weird, but hey ho, he has met me, and his plane.
That's why.
Yeah, probably. when we were working together, we did a family's day, and it was funny because I went down the town and nicked a Wilson Holmes flag. The dog with the paper in its mouth, and I sneaked onto his aircraft, his Talon 2, hoisted this dog with the things, and took down the Stars and Stripes and stole his Stars and Stripes. And it was like, I seen him the following day when he was walking up the taxiway. God damn, there's a dog on my plane. And it's like, and then he sort of like, it was a big thing. When he got back to the States, he flew in, and when they started taxiing, he put the Wilson Holmes flag up, and he does it every time, or he did it every time he used to land. Instead of the Stars and Stripes, it was the Wilson Holmes flag. Have I got to shut up?
Probably.
Is that why you're kicking me?
No, I'm kicking.
He's kicking me.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know, honestly, I've really enjoyed this because you both obviously bonded through the military connection, and I think a lot of people do. We all find it easy to start talking, and I think it relates back to what you were saying about your VISP, that you can just naturally talk to each other, and it feels like you've known each other for years, even though it's only been 40 minutes, for example, because of that connection. And we've got that outside of the uniform. We don't need the uniform to have that connection, that bond. So I like that, Martin and Dean. Honestly, I really like it. I have one final question for you both. What would you say to anyone leaving the military environment now and about to be a civvy? What would your advice be?
I tend to say, stay in as long as you can.
Yeah.
The grass isn't greener. Regardless of what the military is like now, there are considerably more opportunities in the military now than there ever has been. And yes, all right, in some circumstances the money may be better, but actually long term it probably isn't, because there are so many other benefits that come with what you're doing in the military that I'm seeing. I would say stay in. I was over at Pirbright 2 weeks ago talking to the guys over there, and some of the guys have been doing drone warfare because they could do, or they were doing cyber stuff. They're doing all sorts of these skills and that lot. Stay in as long as you can, enjoy it, try and get involved with as much as you can. You're doing so much travel. You know, I've known people who are doing tracksuit soldiers as we know it, and you know, we've been doing sport all their life. You just can't do any of that in Civvy Street. The second you get out, your world's going to massively change, and the roles and responsibilities you have at that moment in time, you're going to be in for a big shock because you're going to be back at ground zero again. You're literally going to be starting again.
I'll say, if you're coming out, research it, what you want to do, get everything you can before you actually leave, or in that space between leaving and actually having to get a job, right? Talk to people on the outside who you trust. I mean, they're welcome to contact Squaddie Box, or Squaddie Box, but Squaddie Box. And we will have a chat with them. There are some good people around on the veterans breakfast clubs. So yes, they're regs, but they're coming out. So there will be a veteran. So go to the breakfast club as well. Chat to the people there. See what's going on outside, and really think about what they actually want to do. You know, because I mean, I knew what I wanted to do when I come out, but the military didn't get. I didn't research anything because I didn't think I had to, because I thought I was qualified, right? But if I'd known, I would have done some resettlement or something while I was still working, and got me Civic Qual to do the job that I wanted to do, and I'd have been I'd have been a ODP by now on shitloads of money.
I was also add to that
with a blue hat on.
Even if you're not thinking about getting out yet, start planning 3 or 4 or 5 years ahead. Try and start looking at things that you may be interested in. You know, so someone might say 5, 6 years I'm going to get out. 4, 10 years I might get out, and then I'm going to do something different. Start thinking about it now, if you can do that, and then start doing courses now. So that way, then when you do get out, instead of them saying, "Oh, you're fresh faced straight off that out of the course," blah blah blah, you've had at least 3, 4, 5 years experience of that trade or qualification environment way before you get out. So you hit the ground semi-experienced,
and save some money.
Save
in a secret account that you don't touch.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That's not there for anything else.
Yeah.
But for a major emergency.
And stay away from general security, for Christ's sake. Everyone goes into security because they think it's a big thing.
12 hours a day, getting your ass kicked around all day.
Yeah, and it's a race to the bottom. Unless you've got some sort of specialist cyber skills or something, you know.
I tell you what, for us, the worst thing is is being forced to watch a criminal walk out the bloody shop.
Yeah, that's the
because we're trained to deal with that. You know, not go, all right, sir. Yeah, enjoy, sir. Do you want this bottle of wine to go with that bag? Right.
And I had one last thing. Now. Start dropping the acronyms. Because we get out of Civvy Street and we start smashing out acronyms everywhere, and people just look at you going out going, "What are you talking about? I've no idea."
Oh, you say that to me all the time, so that don't mean anything.
I know. Yeah, but we talk to each other, you nuts. Oh. Yeah, it makes no odds to us, does it? Yeah.
You know what, guys? Honestly, seriously, thank you so much for giving up your evening, for sharing your story, your experiences, because the reality is they can be helping somebody else, because all our stories matter. We matter.
When you can come to ride your horses.
Whenever you want to come. Seriously, when you get back from everything you're doing, come up to the lakes, come and stay at mine. So anyway, I'm trying to complete the podcast. So I'm the creator of the Identity After the Uniform. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and make sure you share and comment below where you're watching from. Please subscribe, like, and share, because these stories really can inspire real change. We're trying to solve isolation by coming together as a community and working together by sharing our stories. So once again, thank you, Martin. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Cheers, Jim.
We look forward to working with you.
I can't wait.
Yes. And I'm look forward. He won't have blue lips because he's not allowed to drink alcohol. So he'll have Guinness blue.
Yeah.
But right, I'm just gonna stop this recording.